Right, let's start with Sarah. Publishing with or without your supervisor. Could you please give us some scenario on when is a good time to publish with or without your supervisor?
Thanks, Park. Before I answer this question, I just want to mention there's a website called predatoryreports.com is where it's giving you some of the ideas about what can be considered predatory journal, and it could be a good preference. I mean, it's depending on subject to your judgment and university judgment, but it's something that you could have a look to check the journal that you are planning to submit to. About this question, publishing with or without a supervisor, obviously, usually we publish with a supervisor when it's something to do with our PhD thesis, because it's a kind of team effort. But there are also like opportunities where we can work with like on some side project with some other could be our colleagues or like some other authors, and like during our discussion, I guess it's still a good, very good idea to do that. But obviously with the awareness of the supervisor, so the supervisor needs to be aware that we are doing this. And it's not just because their name is not on paper, but also that so that we can manage the expectation, and they can also expect how we can manage the time with our PhDs as well. So I get when we publish without a supervisor, it's generally sometimes some things that not to do with our PhD. An area or topic that we would like to explore, or a new methodology that we could potentially be interesting, and we would like to learn for as part of our like branding, like Felix, Catherine, and Park mentioned earlier. So I guess in the case where you can find a good team, someone you would like to work with, and sometime in the project that you think could add value to your personal branding and your career, then it's a good idea to do that even there's no, your supervisor is not there. So that my ideas. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I think we already somewhat answered this about publishing with or without. Now, Sarah, I don't want to pick on you, but I know that you had a problem with your supervisor before, that you published with or without his name. I cannot remember exactly. Can you tell us the history of what actually happened? Like, did your supervisor actually got upset with it, and how did you get over it?
Well, I can't. What is I think it's more like it was. So when the time when this when I did my PhD, and there were some papers that I would like to publish from, basically not from my PhD directly, but it's a subset, because I collected extra data from my PhD, and I was going to use that extra data to do an extra paper, not part of the thesis, when we were planning, so I wanted to publish the paper with like another expert, but at the time, I think there was maybe some misunderstanding among the supervision team. So they basically thought it may not be appropriate to put someone else on the paper that come from the PhD thesis. But then once we sit down and discuss, and I clarify how the new person going to add what they bring into the paper, and this is not like the data is not actually in the PhD project, but this is the kind of the side, my mini side project. Then they were happy, and I guess clear communication would be the key in this case, because sometimes supervisor might feel like we did not trust them, or we did not share the information with them, and open communication, clear communication is just the key to clear on the confusion and misunderstanding. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Felix, have you ever came across when you do publication without your supervisor and then you get into a problem?
No, not really, because I guess in my case, most of the projects that I'm doing during my PhD without my advisors, it's actually I studied before or right after I joined PhD per se. So it's before I kind of like start working on my PhD.
Yes.
And then the following projects that I did without my advisor is that's right after I submit. So during the PhD, the paper that I published, I already studied like, you know, kind of like before doing my PhD. It's just, again, the publishing process takes more than 1 year, take years.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Felix and Sarah. Now,